Welcome, everyone, to our exploration of APUSH Period 1, covering the years from 1491 to 1607. This period is all about understanding Native American life before European arrival and the early stages of colonization. It's a fascinating time that sets the stage for all the developments that follow. Let's dive into three key points. First, Native American societies were incredibly diverse. They adapted to their environments in unique ways, which we'll delve into shortly. Second, it's important to remember that before Europeans arrived, these communities had rich social, political, and economic structures. They were not isolated or primitive, but rather dynamic and interconnected. Finally, the early colonization period was a time of significant change and interaction, laying the groundwork for future encounters that shaped the continent. Think about how these early interactions have shaped the world we live in today. Let's move forward to understand more about the Native American way of life before European contact. Let's dive into the rich tapestry of Native American life before European contact. Imagine over 10,000 years ago, people made their way to the Americas via the Bering Strait. This long history allowed Native Americans to develop diverse social, political, and economic structures. These were intricately connected to their interactions with each other and the environment around them. One key aspect of their culture was religion, which was deeply entwined with nature. Many tribes practiced animism, a belief that non human entities like plants and animals possessed a spiritual essence. This connection to nature shaped much of their world view. As we consider these early societies, think about how their relationship with the environment was fundamental to their way of life. It's a theme that resonates even today, highlighting the importance of living in harmony with the world around us. As we explore Native American culture before European contact, it's important to appreciate the complexity and diversity of the societies that flourished across the continent. First, the Southwest regions, like the Pueblo, are a testament to adaptability. These communities thrived in arid environments through their innovative use of irrigation for agriculture, primarily for maize. In contrast, the tribes, the Great Basin, and the Great Plains, such as the Lakota, developed a nomadic lifestyle. This was largely due to the scarcity of natural resources, which made hunting buffalo essential to their way of life. Finally, on the Atlantic coast and in the Northeast, the Iroquois exemplified a blend of agricultural and hunter gatherer practices. They established permanent villages and formed the Iroquois Confederation, showcasing their political sophistication. Isn't it fascinating how these societies not only adapted to their environments, but also shaped them in return? As we move forward, we'll delve into the motivations and impact of European colonization. But let's take a moment to recognize the rich cultural foundations that were already in place. We're going to dive into the transformative period in history, focusing on the three G's: gold, glory, and God. These three motivations drove European exploration and colonization, shaping the world dramatically. Let's start with gold. The search for new wealth and trade opportunities with Asia was a major driving force. This quest for riches was a powerful motivator for explorers and settlers alike. Now, on to glory. The pursuit of increased power and status fueled nationalistic ambitions, leading countries to explore and conquer new lands. This quest for prestige was as significant as the quest for wealth. Finally, God. The aim to convert native populations to Christianity was a key justification for many explorers, adding a religious dimension to their endeavors. The arrival of Columbus in 1492 marked the beginning of profound demographic and social changes. One of the most significant impacts was the Columbian Exchange, which involved the transatlantic exchange of goods, people, and ideas. For Native Americans, the introduction of horses from Europe revolutionized their way of life. However, it wasn't all positive. The arrival of diseases like smallpox led to catastrophic decline in native populations. On the flip side, crops like maize and potatoes from the Americas played a critical role in boosting European populations. This exchange had long lasting effects on both continents. As we continue, we'll explore further how these exchanges laid the groundwork for European colonization and its impact on indigenous civilizations. Let's look at the conquest of the Aztec and the Incan empires in the 1500s. First, we'll focus on Hernan Cortez, a Spanish conquistador who led a small Spanish force from Cuba alongside numerous indigenous allies. Together, they conquered the formidable Aztec Empire, seized Tenochtitlan, what we now know as Mexico City, and captured Emperor Moctezuma II. This marked a pivotal moment in history, with the Spanish subsequently extending their control over Central America. Now let's shift to Francisco Pizarro, another Spanish conquistador. With a similar small force, Pizarro captured the Incan emperor Atahualpa, holding him for ransom in gold. This eventually led to the conquest of the entire Incan Empire. One key aspect of Spanish control was the implementation of the encomienda system. This forced labor system required native peoples to work, ostensibly in exchange for religious conversion to Catholicism. Additionally, Spanish settlers began to intermarry with the local native population, creating significant cultural and demographic shifts. This is a map of Spanish and Portuguese colonies and the lands that they claimed. We can see it's quite extensive, but we can also see there's a very clear divide between the Spanish and Portuguese. Why is that? Let's look at colonization of Spain and Portugal. First, let's explore the Treaty of Tordesillas, a pivotal agreement where Spain and Portugal decided to divide the Western Hemisphere between them. This treaty was crucial as it laid the groundwork for European dominance in the Americas. Spain was quick off the mark, establishing their first settlement in North America with St. Augustine in 1565. This highlights their early and aggressive approach to colonization. Now on to the encomienda system. This system granted the Spanish colonists land along with the native people. Unfortunately, it led to native slave labor in mining and agricultural, especially in silver and sugar. It's important to note Spain also sought to convert the native people to Catholicism, which further complicated cultural dynamics. As a result of these interactions, we see the emergence of racially mixed populations. Terms like mestizo describe people of mixed Indian and European heritage, and there was also people of mixed white and black ancestry. This blending of cultures is a significant part of colonial legacy. Let's take a moment to consider the implications of these early colonial actions as we move forward. The Pueblo Revolt of 1680. This event is a powerful example of Native American resistance to Spanish colonization. The Spanish efforts to change Native American beliefs often led to significant resistance and conflict. Native peoples were determined to maintain their political and cultural autonomy, even under immense pressure. The Pueblo Revolt, also known as Pope's Rebellion, was a pivotal moment in 1680. Hundreds of Spanish colonists were killed and Catholic churches were destroyed. This uprising was a clear message of defiance and fight for indigenous sovereignty. Remember, the Pueblo Revolt is not just a historical event, but a testament to the enduring spirit and resilience of Native communities. Now we're going to explore the debate surrounding Spanish colonization, a pivotal topic that highlights different perspectives on how Native Americans were viewed and treated. Let's start by considering the context of these debates. Imagine the contrasting viewpoints of two influential figures, Juan de Sepulveda and Bartolomé de las Casas. Sepulveda, in his work Just Causes for War Against the Indians, presented arguments justifying the Spanish colonization, viewing it as a means to, quote, civilize the indigenous people according to European standards. On the other hand, De las Casas took a stand against these justifications. His publication, A Short Account of the Destruction of the Indies, offered a scathing critique of the Spanish treatment of Native Americans, highlighting the brutal reality of colonization. These debates were not just academic, they had real world implications for how colonization policies were shaped and implemented. Keep in mind the profound impact these differing views had on the lives of countless indigenous people. Consider how these historical debates resonate with current discussions on cultural imperialism and human rights. So, why did English colonization differ from others in North America? While Spain, France, and Holland engaged in complex relationships with indigenous people, trading and even intermarrying, the English approach was distinct. They aimed to set up colonies that primarily benefited England itself. Let's explore three key differences. First, the motivations for colonization were unique. The English were driven by mercantilism. They viewed colonies as a way to enrich the mother country through access to raw materials and valuable resources like gold and silver. Second, consider the number and type of settlers. English colonies often attracted families seeking religious freedom or new life away from Europe's constraints, unlike the primarily male settlers focused on trade in other colonies. Lastly, there was a lack of a large native population in the areas the English chose to settle. This greatly influenced the development of their colonies compared to others who formed alliances and relationships with indigenous peoples. These factors all contributed to the English colonization's unique path in North America. This concludes Unit 1.